Coming up on tonight's edition of the County Line, Westminster Cable Network live broadcasts are no longer available to Comcast residents in Lawrence County. We'll tell you why. And WCN reporter Jeremiah Patterson sits down with a Westminster College student and professor to talk about attending the historical inauguration of President Obama. We're live, we're local, the County Line starts now.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's edition of the County Line. I'm Amanda Conway.
And I'm Shanna Marty.
The nationwide rock salt shortage is hitting New Wilmington. Cost per ton of salt increased nearly 3 times this winter, and the borough has been holding its breath, waiting for the salt to run out. At this week's Borough Council meeting, Superintendent Fred Garrett said the borough isn't running out of salt anytime soon.
First of all, we were a little concerned at first because we didn't know if we were going to be able to get salt. And then finally PennDOT come through and released some of their allocations of their salt that they had. They had a bunch of salt down at the Rochester facility down toward Pittsburgh. So they agreed to let us have some of their capacity of salt to get through the winter, being the fact that us and quite a few other municipalities and townships couldn't get salt. We could get it, but it was an extreme high price.
Secondary roads in Lawrence and Mercer counties remain snow-covered and slick because of the salt shortage. Townships across both counties are extending their salt supplies. They're mixing their salt with anti-skid elements like sand and ash. However, that leaves the roads a bit dirtier to drive on.
Well, if you're watching the County Line right now, you're an Armstrong Cable customer. Comcast Cable customers can no longer watch live WCM programming. The County Line's Andy Bortz explains that a recent policy change by Comcast Cable means many Lawrence County residents won't be able to watch Westminster Cable Network events live anymore.
For over 10 years, Westminster College has broadcast local high school and community events on Comcast Cable to Lawrence County residents. However, in a letter to the editor of the Newcastle News in December of 2008, Westminster College Broadcast Department Chair Dr. David Barner wrote, "I am sorry to announce that Westminster College live cable broadcasts on Channel 10 Comcast will not be available after January 1st. And his reasoning was simple.
Comcast is insisting that we pay for every minute of airtime that we're on Channel 10. The same as if we were a private citizen that could lease time. We get no special treatment.
With Comcast's lease fee policy in place, many events such as Neshannock football and basketball will no longer be available live to anyone with Comcast Cable in Lawrence County. Neshannock School District Athletic Director Gary Weimer says it will definitely have an impact on the community.
I know there are people who actually watch games and they're not involved with, because I've been to games, and then of course I have to attend them, being the athletic director, but and I'll go someplace maybe socially or go to church or whatever, and somebody says, "Hey, I saw you on TV the other night," or I've done the same thing whenever I've watched games.
Now, the Borough of New Wilmington's cable service is provided by Armstrong, a cable system which will not charge any royalty fees to the Westminster Cable Network to broadcast live events on their station, which is now Armstrong Cable Channel 72.
But Dr. Barner says even though broadcasting through Armstrong is a workaround, it just won't be the same to many Lawrence County residents who love to watch their events live.
We've been doing these games so long that the little brothers of the students that we originally broadcast actually have grown up now, and people have been watching the games for a long time. It's something that they've grown accustomed to. It's something that's kind of unique that people can sit at home in their living rooms and watch a live broadcast.
Reporting from Lawrence County, I'm Andy Bortz for the County Line.
Coming up on the County Line, we find out about one Westminster student who spent his summer hiking across Alaska.
And we talked to a Westminster faculty member and student about their recent trip to Washington, D.C. for the presidential inauguration.
Stay tuned, more County Line is on the way.
So nice out here.
Yeah, I used to come out here when I was a kid. Nothing. Relax.
No, I definitely heard something.
Look! Who is that?
What are you doing? Shut the door!
Okay.
He's got an axe!
He does?
Please!
I'm trying. Come on, baby. Come on.
What is he doing to?
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to LOC.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at LOC.gov.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. One of some matches, and that's no good. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire. Yeah.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Fire.
What you see here are just some of the items confiscated by police in the St. Vitus church theft. August Santillo of Newcastle is accused of stealing $340,000 by cashing in on donated gift cards. Fortunately, Giant Eagle caught onto the scam and notified police.
Investigators say more arrests are expected in the case. Santillo's wife is expected to be the next arrest. Police say she worked closely with Santillo as a volunteers coordinator for fundraising events at St. Vitus.
Santillo is currently out on $50,000 bond pending a preliminary hearing.
Lawrence County District Attorney John Bonjavingo says he wants to see the people involved go to jail.
Well, it's devastating to the community. It's devastating to the church. People donated money for the welfare of the church and their charitable organizations that they have, and the money was taken and used to live well beyond somebody's means. So that in of itself is sad. And I personally think you got to go to jail for that sort of thing. There's not too much leeway, and I think our case, as of right now, is strong.
Former Lawrence County Treasurer Gary Velasco is back in hot water. The ex-treasurer, who served a year in prison after stealing $170,000 from Lawrence County, is facing more charges. Federal prosecutors say Velasco failed to file a federal income tax return for the year 2005. Velasco is currently working to pay Lawrence County back nearly 3 times the amount he stole.
One of the 2 Westminster football coaches injured after falling 4 stories is back to work. Running back coach Darren DeMeo arrived back at work last week after the fall from a Nashville hotel balcony earlier this year. The injuries co-defensive coordinator Scott Coy sustained keep him in critical but stable condition at a Nashville hospital. He will be flown to an Akron hospital sometime soon. A Newcastle family is picking up the pieces this week after a devastating fire last week. The fire killed 35-year-old Dawn Trey and her 4-year-old niece, Jocelyn Barnes. The tragedy is being blamed on a candle that caught the second floor of the home on fire. A special fund has been set up to help the family. You can send your donations to the Jocelyn Barnes Fire Care Fund, care of the First Commonwealth Bank in Newcastle.
Steelers fever comes to Westminster as a member of the former official band of the Steelers performs. Last week, country musician Chris Higbee, a member of the Poverty Neck Hillbillies, jammed his way across Orr Auditorium as part of a benefit concert supporting one college group's spring break mission trip. The County Line's Scott Lawrence has more.
For Chris Higbee, going to work doesn't mean sitting at a desk all day. Higbee travels across the country performing concerts showcasing his passion for country music. Higbee started his career with the Pittsburgh-based Poverty Neck Hillbillies, but formed his own band following the Hillbillies breakup. Higbee's recent visit to Westminster's Orr Auditorium was one of his many benefit concerts supporting Habitat for Humanity. Higbee says giving back is just part of his job.
I did a lot with Habitat Humanity down by my way in the Greensburg area. We went and built a house and did a concert and whatnot. So it's a really cool thing that going and building a house for somebody that can't afford it or can't do it themselves.
Westminster's own Habitat for Humanity chapter president Amy Spicuzza says without people like Higbee, mission trips like theirs wouldn't be possible.
Well, with people like him, it makes it easier to go because going on far trips like this with a lot of people like we are has big expenses. So by doing this concert, it helps us to raise money.
Higbee is a huge Steelers fan, and while many fans Sunday sat in front of TVs watching the Steelers play, Higbee knows what it's like to play in front of the Steelers.
The Steeler thing, I would say, is one of the coolest things. Singing a national anthem, playing in front of all the people and on the field and halftime, and playing out in the Coca-Cola Great Hall. I mean, it's all just, it's surreal when you're doing it.
Playing show after show, night after night, Higbee says performing is more than just a passion.
It's what I was born to do. I can't imagine anything. I can't imagine doing anything else.
I'm Scott Lawrence reporting for the County Line.
And one Westminster student's dream to hike across Alaska is completed. We'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned. Well, January 20th marked a significant day as Barack Obama was sworn in as the new president.
Several community members traveled to Washington for the historic event, including Dr. Tim Cuff and Stephen Fawcett.
WCN reporter Jeremiah Patterson, who also attended the event, along with myself, sits down to talk with Dr. Cuff and Stephen about their experience.
Good evening, welcome to the County Line, and I'm Jeremiah Patterson, and I have the pleasure of sitting here with Dr. Timothy Cuff, Professor of History at Westminster College, and freshman Steve Fawcett, who is a political science major. And the three of us have attended the inauguration of President Barack Obama. So let's go ahead and talk about that experience a little bit. How long were both of you there in Washington, D.C. for the event?
Jeremiah, I got there Sunday afternoon and stayed until Wednesday morning. So I was there for the concert on Sunday, did a day of service, or an hour of service during the day of service on Martin Luther King Day, and stayed for the inauguration, left the next day.
Steve?
I actually flew in the 16th, stayed with my mother, who is a lieutenant colonel in the Army, who is stationed down there for now. And I was there for the whole week, toured D.C., had a blast, and finished off the week with the inaugurations.
So let's get into Tuesday then, and that's when fellow reporter Amanda Conway and myself, when we arrived on the scene, I guess. Now, for us, it was coming out of the metro was kind of the defining moment when you're packed within the subway, and then you go up the stairs and you see that the streets were absolutely empty at 6 a.m. in the Capitol, which was very strange. How about for you guys? What was your kind of entrance to the Capitol on that day like?
We had a hotel right at 11th and E.
Oh, okay.
So we were just a block from Pennsylvania Avenue, but we emerged onto the street around a little bit before 7 o'clock, but we're unable to cross Pennsylvania.
Right.
Because of the parade restrictions. So we walked probably about 10 or 15 blocks west around the White House, and then came back up onto the mall from that direction. So we walked for about 45 minutes along with several hundred thousand others.
Yeah, as they were gathering. And Steve?
I actually had a pretty interesting way of getting to the mall. We actually took the metro on the way there. We gave it a shot at about 5:30 in the morning. Everyone was on top of each other.
Yeah.
And actually, when we got to the final stop to get off, a woman passed out in front of the doors because it was very cold. Everyone dressed up. She probably had 10 layers of clothing on.
Right.
And on that metro train, it was very hot.
It was.
And my mom actually had to drag her off the train before the stampede of people trampled her. So it was actually very crazy, and it took us about 30 minutes to get from off the train to getting outside.
One of the coolest things was that what was our sitting room quickly became shoulder-to-shoulder standing room only. How about for you guys? How did the crowds gathering? What was that like?
We ended up being down near the Washington Monument, which is about 1.25 miles from the Capitol.
Correct.
So we got ourselves positioned. I traveled there with the Van Dales. Robert Van Dale was a religion professor here at the college some years ago. He and his wife and I traveled down together. For us, it didn't get crowded until almost 11:15, 11:30, at which point things started to jam up a little bit in terms of being shoulder to shoulder.
When I entered into my section, it was probably about 9 o'clock, and by that time it was already shoulder to shoulder. We actually had.
Now you had a ticket though.
Yes, I
had a ticket. You were in one of the ticketed areas.
My mother was able to get 2 tickets from our local center, from a state senator, and they were silver tickets. And a reference for the viewers again is we were kind of in the nosebleeds of the ticket holders. I was in the first section with the jumbotron, so I was better off than many, but still had to use the jumbotron.
Talk to me about that experience, being in the middle of this massive crowd and listening to what several broadcasting stations have dubbed as the moment when President Obama took his oath of office. What was the feeling like at that time?
For me, I was mostly struck by the joy of the crowd. People we were with, many of them had been with us on the ground standing for 4 or 5 hours, 20 degrees, 20-mile-an-hour wind. It was cold. Lots of these folks were not used to the cold, and everybody was happy.
Sure.
There was a feeling, I thought, of great joy as a European American, something that I might not fully understand in terms of the perspective of an African American, who probably saw this as in some ways another step along the way towards full equality. Many of the folks around us had witnessed civil rights violence, had experienced the difficulties of those times, and in many ways I think the emotion I got from them was our day has come.
We've been discussing the inauguration of President Barack Obama with Dr. Timothy Cuff and Stephen Fawcett, both members of the Westminster community here. Thank you, and more County Line is on the way.
Good evening, sports fans. I'm Melissa Maines, and boy, oh boy, do I've got a great show lined up for you tonight. College signing day took place at many high schools around Pennsylvania yesterday. It was a special day for athletes to show how all of their hard work had finally paid off, and to commit to a college or university to further their education and continue playing football. 2 area QBs signed with Division II schools, Newcastle's Michael Bonjavingo with Seton Hill, and the Lancers' Josh Brown with Slippery Rock, as well as running and defensive back Brandon Burley with Division I Southern Illinois. State champs, the Wilmington Greyhounds, also have 2 players furthering their education and athletics. Dallas Hartman with Division I Columbia, and Carson Sharbaugh will travel over the state line to Youngstown State University. Coming up a little later in the show, we will talk to Sharbaugh in a special interview. And moving on to Titan basketball, the men's and women's teams both suffered devastating losses against St. Vincent last night, but they are on the prowl and looking for a win as they host Waynesburg Saturday. Congratulations to this week's SAC Athlete of the Week senior Megan Meyer. In just 2 meets, Meyer won a combined 7 events, including a pole record in the 200-yard backstroke. And now onto our extra inning portion of the show. The Pittsburgh Penguins have a big win under their belt as they won against the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-3 last night, and they will be back in action Friday as they host Columbus. We'll be right back with more County Line, and I will be sitting down with Wilmington's Carson Sharbaugh to discuss Hershey, the Big 33, and YSU.
I'm open! Shoot it, Cassie! Shoot it!
There's a better way to have fun with history.
It's okay, Amelia.
Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
On 3. 1.
Oh, hey, mister. Studied algebra in school and got a better job than I could. You took the last couple.
Oh, no, mister. Stuck in an entry-level job because you only learned basic math. I don't have a boss riding my butt like you do, so you take it so you can get back to your desk.
You know, I probably should, but maybe Miss AP Calculus with the $200 haircut in the big office upstairs would like a cup.
Oh, no, mister. What was your name again? Never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm too busy doing important things to care. I just came down for some sweet and stir.
You know, if my limited math abilities weren't keeping me from getting a better job, I'd quit this afternoon.
I don't blame you. But thank goodness you're stuck here because we really need someone to make the coffee.
Tonight, I am joined by future tight end for YSU, Carson Sharbaugh. So thanks for being here with us tonight. First off, let's go back to the beginning of the season. Did you ever think that this year's team was going to be bringing home the gold for Wilmington?
At the beginning of the season, you know, I really never thought we could do it. I always dreamed of it, but as the season went on and in the playoffs, the end of playoffs, we became a better team, and I knew that we could do it then.
Okay, so let's go back to that big game. It's the last 2 minutes of the game. You guys are tied at 21. What was going through your mind?
Oh my gosh, I was just hoping that we could keep them out of the end zone. They had the two running backs and their quarterback all had over 1,000 yards the whole season, and number 3 Raymond Maples was running pretty much all over us the game. I mean, he's a really good athlete and he was hard to stop, but in the 2-point conversion when they were going for it in the second overtime, I was hoping they didn't give it to him, and they didn't. They gave it to the quarterback, Curtis Drake, and he rolled out, and Shane Wagner made a play, and we stopped him and won it, so it was exciting.
All right, well, you were one of a few selected to play in the Big 33, which is Pennsylvania's finest against Ohio's. Are you aware that a player from the Big 33 has played in every Super Bowl?
Yeah, I read that on the website when I was looking around, and that's pretty sweet. Ben Roethlisberger was there and everything, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay, well, as we did mention earlier, you are going to YSU in the fall. So what made you choose YSU? I know you had said earlier you were contemplating by even going to Slippery Rock. So what was the difference between the two?
I visited YSU last Saturday, and as soon as I got there, I mean, I just fell in love with it. You know, the campus is real nice. All the coaches are real welcoming. The facilities are awesome too, and all the players are just real cool, and it's like a family there, so I'm used to it at Wilmington, so I'm excited about that too.
So when will you start getting ready to go to the Big 33 and to get ready to head on off to YSU then? As far as training and...
I'm in basketball right now, so as soon as basketball is over, I'm in the weight room pretty much 24/7. I have a press conference for the Big 33 February 16th. A spring practice May 3rd, and then June 20th is the game for the Big 33, and whole week before that I go up and do a lot of stuff with them.
Okay, well, so since you were a state champion now, do you get recognized when you go out from the grocery store or just being out in town?
Yeah, I mean, everybody does. It's pretty cool. We all got jackets for the game, say AA state champs and everything, and you'll just be in line at Wendy's or something. People come up, oh, I watched that game. That was real cool. That was crazy. You guys did sweet. And we got our rings, and everybody's like, oh, those are your rings? We're like, yeah. So it's real cool. It's fun.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to look for him on the YSU field this fall, and stay tuned. We'll have more County Line.
thing you ever had. Only thing I'm guilty of is giving you too much love, making you crazy, making you right, making me follow me, making me suspect. Seem to think I'm playing her game. Don't you know her? This is me.
There's a better way to have fun with history. Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
Picture yourself at Westminster College. Westminster offers an educational experience that is second to none. We've been exceeding students' expectations for 150 years. Westminster combines the prestige of a national liberal arts college with the personal attention you deserve. Westminster is a national leader in graduation rate performance and is the most affordable national liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. Visit Westminster's beautiful 300-acre campus to experience an ideal learning environment. Succeed at Westminster College.
Looking outdoors, you may feel as if you're in a frozen tundra, much like Alaska. One Westminster student actually had the opportunity to backpack across the chilly state and into the Yukon. Producer Mike Hazlett shows you a glimpse of his journey.
I was motivated. I mean, I've been into this stuff like my whole life. Like, I'm an Eagle Scout, so that's kind of doing the whole outdoor thing is kind of growing up with it. Wasn't really motivated, but I just kind of wanted to get out there, do a big trip, because I knew this was going to be like the last hurrah, because the next summer I'm going to have to get an internship, and then it's work. So this was it for us, me and my friend. So yeah, I just wanted to be out there. Being with Dan out in the wilderness was pretty cool. I mean, obviously, we got on each other's nerves, but, I mean, we're best friends. We worked it out. As far as just being out there with your best buddy, I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. You just feel so free, like you can do anything. We were preparing for the trip like maybe a year in advance, saving up. Last year during school, I saved up some money for my job. Just buying gear. We had to get pretty much all new gear. So that buy a piece of gear every month or so. The whole trip costs about, I would estimate, about $4,000. The kind of people I met really put my faith back in people, because when I left, I hated everybody. I thought everybody was just out to get you, just real crappy human beings. But really, people helped me out so much. They gave us food, they gave us money, they gave us a house to stay at. They were just phenomenal. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, and I don't know if it's just the people up north. I mean, maybe it is the people up north. In Skagway, we hiked the Chilkoot Trail. That took about 3 days. And after that, Fairbanks. We actually stayed with somebody that met us on the trail. We went to Fairbanks. And then we stayed with them a couple days, and they took us to Anchorage to get our flight back to Pittsburgh.
Thanks for joining us for our first episode of the new year.
Be sure to tune in next week for a sweet place to shop for your Valentine's Day sweetheart.
And we sit down with Westminster College President Dr. Richard Dorman.
In the meantime, be sure to check us out on the web at WCN247.com.
Good night.
Good night.